Hi everybody. This video is about my first welding project, which was fabricating a gravel bike. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll end with a poem. Thanks for watching. I bought chromoly tubes from a bike frame supplier, and I tube notched them using this tube notching tool for a while, and then I found that it wasn't accurate enough, and so I started to just do it with hacksaws and files. And I would print out a little template that would show me where I needed to cut. This type of welding had a really steep learning curve for me with the thin materials, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I made a huge mess, and I burnt tons of holes, and I made it all really lumpy. So that was rough, but I eventually figured it out. Kind of figured it out anyway. This is what some of the welds look like even on the bike now, just super lumpy, didn't really melt the base metal, barely safe to ride, but it was still fun. Here I'm showing my burnt, messed up welds to my family. This is how I aligned the front triangle. I used shims under the tubes because all the tubes are different diameters, and so I shimmed them up until they were centered on the bottom bracket, and then I tack welded them, and then I took them off and finished welding them out. And this is how I welded the rear triangle, or got it all aligned anyway, using protractors and clamps and all sorts of creative means. The bicycle fork was one of the hardest parts because it needs a few degrees of rake where the axle is a few degrees forward of the head tube, and so I had to build this wooden thing to hold it in place while I um, both filed the tubes to where they needed to be and then eventually tack welded it using this jig as well. I finished the bike and built it out and then tried to do a little test ride even with no chain or derailleur or anything, and I found that it was all messed up. It was all skewed from welding shrinkage and just not straight. And I think there's a process in official frame building called truing. And I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't have the tools to do that. And in fact, my chain stays were, or seat stays were messed up where I couldn't even recover from it. So I had to cut one off and then weld it lower, like you're looking at here. And it's now a feature of my bike frame that I kind of like. I decided to fabricate a gravel bike, which is between a mountain and road ride. It isn't pretty and the headset shakes, but finishing it gave me pride. Welding the front triangle was relatively easy, using shims on a flat assembly table, but aligning the chainstays was so tough I felt queasy, and the seat stays had a miter so tricky I was barely able. To cope tubes for small projects, a template you can print, and then I use saws and files and iterative Sharpie marks. But this method is for one-off prototypes, not production sprints. The die grinder is useful here, though it throws many sparks. Beginner TIG welds are lumpy, and this bike is no exception. My frame had distortion like a potato chip. A seat stay was so short I had to weld a creative connection. Now the gravel bike creaks when I ride over a dip. My welds appear rough, but they have held me thus far. This project is not for a beginner. The bike is fast and it is fun and it raised the bar on projects that make me feel like a winner. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.